The Ashbourne Hotel sat at the end of a rain-wet lane, its sign creaking like a tired warning. Locals crossed the street when they passed. They said the hotel listened. I booked a room because I wanted to be alone with something stranger than my thoughts. Mrs. Hale met me at the door. Her smile was careful. "Some rooms keep things," she said. She walked me to room 217 and left the key in my palm as if passing an old favor. The room smelled like paper and rain. The wallpaper peeled in thin curls. A lamp hummed on the bedside table. At midnight, a scrape moved beneath the floorboards. It was slow and patient. A whisper slipped up through the wood and said a name I had not heard in years. At breakfast, an old man named Bennett watched me. "The Ashbourne keeps what people leave," he said. "It gives peace by taking trouble, but sometimes it keeps too much." That night, I asked about 219. Mrs. Hale's smile thinned. "Some rooms hold on," she said. She would not open the door. On the third night, the corridor smelled of lemon and old coffee. Room 219 stood half open. The air that came out smelled of old paper and cold perfume. Inside, a single chair faced the wall. On it lay a stack of papers tied with twine. I took them and read. The top sheet described a night like this one.
Rain.
A slammed door. A person who left and never returned. The words matched a childhood dream I had never spoken aloud. My chest hollowed. The wallpaper seemed to breathe. In the plaster, I thought I saw faces made of dust. The whisper pressed to my ear and said the name again. It felt tired, not cruel. It wanted to be remembered. I ran back to my room. Mrs. Hale poured tea and pressed a folded paper into my palm. The note said, "Stay. Tell no one. Come back." I drove away that morning. That night, I found an old key on my pillow. It had a tag stamped 217. I had not brought it. I hid it in a drawer and told myself it was a prank. Days passed. The note's words ran in my head. A stranger's look would sometimes fit my face like a key fits a lock. Bennett wrote, "They take only what you bring." The idea felt like both mercy and trap. At night, a faint tapping came from under the floor. I could throw the key away. I did not. The postcard the hotel had left sat beside it. Weeks later, a postcard appeared on my doormat. No stamp. On it, a single line. "We like to be remembered." I put the postcard on the mantel. The papers I had read crawled into my thoughts. They listed small things, names, promises, who had left and why. One page was a child's note about losing a toy and a father who never came back. Another was a woman's letter of guilt for an accident. The pages were not the neat dramas I had expected. They were ordinary, heavy things people carry like stones. I saw my secret written there and wondered how many others the hotel had taken. I began to watch myself. I would catch the shape of my childhood dream in a puddle or hear the whisper of that name in a cafe. I felt lighter in some ways. The ache that had sat in the hollow of my ribs loosened. But a new ache came, small and hungry. I found myself thinking of the chair and the warm order the pile of papers had brought. I missed the way the hotel had named what I had hidden. I missed the tilt of relief that had come from seeing my memory on a page. Bennett's note sat on my table like something blunt and honest. He had worked at the Ashbourne for years and left when living became too heavy. His handwriting shook when he wrote, "The Ashbourne keeps company with the sad. It will not free you unless you choose to be whole again." Sometimes I met Mrs. Hale on the street. She wore a coat too thin for the weather and a smile that looked like a folded map. When I asked if she had ever left the hotel, she only said, "I asked for a place to stop. The hotel agreed." She never said more. She liked to tell small, true things, how the old piano in the lounge stuck on one note, how the ballroom chandelier had been rewired twice. But she always kept her hands like someone holding something fragile. The nights, I tried not to think about the hotel. The tapping under my floor turned into a rhythm I could not ignore. I began to dream differently. Instead of running, I would stand at a doorway and listen. I would imagine the figures in the plaster rising slowly and taking off their dust like coats. I felt, strangely, like a keeper as well as someone who had been kept. When I returned to the Ashbourne and handed Mrs. Hale the key, I expected anger or relief. She took the key and placed it on the desk. Her eyes met mine, and for a moment they looked exactly like the eyes painted in the old portrait in the hallway, watchful, tired, and oddly kind. "Some people come back to collect," she said. "Some come back to give more." Inside, the chair sat where I had left it. The papers were gone. The room smelled plain and empty. "The hotel keeps the parts you offer," Mrs. Hale said. "Sometimes that is peace. Sometimes it is hunger." I left again, without asking for the papers. Rain hit the windshield in steady lines. The hotel's silence sat in my bones. Now, when the nights are thick and the house is quiet, I set my hand on the mantel where the postcard lies and feel the weight of what I left. The Ashbourne stays in me like a room behind my ribs. At times it comforts. At times it calls. I have learned to listen to both and to choose which voice to answer. The Ashbourne taught me one clear thing. Memories asked to be known will find a home. If you offer them to a place that remembers, the place will hold them, and you may feel lighter. But you may also be marked. Some places do not forget. They wait. They collect. They are excellent at remembering.